Wasatuati, Tlingit Kenach, Kayanach, Ayachat du Asauch, Late Ka Kenach, Pattrick Price, Yuachat du Asauch, Yeh Nachat Siti, Kiksadi, Ayachat. Hello, how are you doing? My Tlingit name is Kayanach. My English given name is Pattrick Price. I am from the Raven Frog clan of the Tlingits, which is Kiksadi from Southeast Alaska. The Formline art is a style of art from Southeast Alaska that is ranging from, Alaska all the way down to California. It originated in Southeast Alaska, but soon became popular in the lower states before colonization via trade routes. So what is Formline? Formline is a feature in indigenous art of the Pacific Northwest coast of North America. It is distinguished by the use of characteristic shapes referred to as ovoids, U-shapes, and S-shapes. So the actual definition of form lines are continuous, flowing, curvilinear lines that turn, swell, and diminish in a prescribed manner. They are used for figure outlines and in internal design elements. They're also used in abstract compositions, which are some of my favorite. But you'll mostly see form line design in, say, totemic style artwork. So if you've seen a totem pole, you've definitely seen Formline art. So that's basically the definition of Formline art. Today we'll be drawing the three main shapes in Formline art, as I described earlier: the ovoid, the U-shape, and the S-shape. So a quick overview of materials here that we'll need. It's very simple. We'll go ahead and get a nice sheet of white paper. You use a blank piece of paper. You can use lined paper if you would like. Either one works just fine, but let's start with a nice blank sheet of paper. We'll also use a pencil, and sometimes I have an eraser right on the end, but I have brought an eraser of my own. Some other materials that you might need or might just want to use around are a ruler or some stencils. Sometimes stencils have the nice curved shapes on them that you'll see, those plastic ones. Those might also be helpful for you today. So let's start out with a basic hand-eye warm-up. So this is a basic shapes hand-eye warm-up, and we're going to start by just using our eyes. So when you think of basic shapes, what shapes come to mind? Well, I can think of shapes like a square, a triangle, with our eyes. So using just our eyes, let's draw a square. I'm going to go across the top of the screen, down the side, across the bottom, and up again. Again, follow with just your eyes the shape of a square. So across the top, down the side, across the bottom, and up again. Let's do that same thing with a triangle. What's the shape of a triangle? Let's use your eyes to draw it out. Starting at the top, going down to the corner, across the bottom, and right back up to the top again. Let's do that one more time. Down to the bottom, across, and back up to the top. Let's draw a circle in the air with our eyes. This is my favorite one because you get to get your eyes going around in a circle. So let's draw a circle, just like following the hands of a clock all the way around. And this is my favorite one because you can do it as slow or as fast as you'd like. You can even change the direction. Just go around in a big circle. Great. Those are some basic shapes. Now let's do that in the air with our fingers. And be sure to follow along with your eyes, watching the point of your finger. here, and let's start out by drawing in the air with our fingers a basic shape. Let's start with a square. Let's go across the top, down the side, across the bottom, and up again. And again, following with your eyes, across the top, down the bottom, across the bottom, and up again. Again, follow with your eyes as we draw the next shape, a triangle. Starting at the peak of the triangle, down to the corner, across the bottom to the other corner, and back up to the top. Again, following with your eyes. Let's do it one more time. Across the bottom and all the way to the top. Now, following with your eyes, let's draw that circle again. Just like following the hand of a clock, go around in a circle and follow with your eyes on the tip of your finger. And let's go around in a circle here. All the way around in a circle. And let's go around one more time, following with your eyes all the way around a circle. There we go. This warm-up helps with hand-eye coordination. Now, we'll be much like these shapes that we just drew in the air with our fingers. The art style of Formline has basic shapes just like the square, triangle, and circle. So we'll be drawing these next ones, and we'll start with the ovoid. So drawing ovoids. Ovoids are most commonly used as the main design shape in Formline art, and they resemble a rectangle with rounder edges. Let's draw a rectangle that we will use as a guide for drawing our ovoid. We can use a ruler or freehand sketch the rectangle that is about the size of a quarter of your drawing space. We will be drawing the outer edges of the ovoid within the lines of that rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and take one of my pencils here. And let's just go ahead and divide our paper into quarters. Just start by drawing a line right down the middle, from the top to the bottom, and from side to side, right in the middle. Wonderful. Now we have a quarter of our drawing space here, and we're going to be drawing the ovoid. You can spell ovoid with big O, V, O, I, D. Ovoid. So what's going to help us draw this ovoid is we're going to draw a rectangle. And we're going to draw a rectangle that is longer than it is tall. So we're going to draw shorter sides on this rectangle, probably like that. I'm just going to freehand it, but you can go ahead and use a ruler if you'd like. And here we go. Draw the sides. Now let's connect the sides with a bottom and the top. There we go. So we're going to be drawing the outer edge of our ovoid within the lines of this rectangle. So starting at about 1/3 of the way down from the top left corner of the rectangle, draw a curved line that is steep at first, then slowly, gradually slopes to the center top of our rectangle. So there's the center top there. And if you want me to divide this into thirds, can. So that's about 1, 2, 3. There's the thirds there. I'm going to start at about 1/3 of the way down from the top left corner. Again, nice steep angle there. And then slowly start to curve it towards the middle of the top line. There we go. We have a nice steep line at first that curves right to the center. Let's do that same thing on the other side, starting about 1/3 of the way down. And we'll make a nice steep line there. And you can sketch it by adding a lot of little lines and then going back through and erasing what lines you wouldn't like and making bold the line that you would like to save. And then let's go ahead and gradually slope it towards the top middle of the rectangle. There we go. Now we are going to start at about 1/4 of the way up from the bottom left corner. So we can divide this into quarters by adding 3 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. So starting about 1/4 of the way up, we're going to draw a 1/4 round line. So for those of us that want to know what a 1/4 round line is, we can draw a circle and then divide that circle into quarters by adding 2 lines through it. Now, if you imagine just 1/4 of this circle is just that space there, that is a 1/4 round line. We're going to be adding that to our outer line of our ovoid, starting at about 1/4 of the way up and connecting it to the bottom line of the rectangle. Let's go ahead and add that 1/4 round line down here. There you go. Great. Now that we have a 1/4 round line on this side, let's go ahead and add another one on the other side. So at about 1/4 of the way up from the top right corner, let's do a 1/4 round line there. I'll just sketch it right in there. Doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing's perfect. Just a nice, happy little line there at a 1/4 round turn. Now, we have the outer edge of our ovoid. There it is. So let's go ahead and draw the inner edge of our ovoid. Now, the inner edge of our ovoid is going to be a downsized replication of this outer ovoid. So we're going to make it smaller than this outer ovoid, and we're going to make it inside of this space. Now, an ovoid has more space above in the upper area than it does in the bottom. So let's go ahead and keep that in mind when we add our top line of our ovoid, and let's use about 1/3 of the space down from the top. And starting about the middle, let's replicate this arching line here that we made on the first drawing of the outer edge. So we're replicating that on the inside here, just like that. And we'll leave about 1/4 of the space on each side of the line. So we have a nice arcing line there that matches the top. And again, we had more space above the ovoid than we do below it. So let's use about half of the space that we used in the top section of the ovoid on the bottom. And we'll go ahead and draw a line at about that distance. That's about half of that space. And we'll go ahead and draw it about 3/4 of the way, leaving about 1/4 on this side and 1/4 on this side. There we go. Nice line. And as you see, it's parallel to the bottom of our rectangle. Now, the sides of the ovoid are about the same space as the bottom. So both sides are going to be the same spacing in the middle as the bottom. Let's take the same space here, and we'll just add a little mark on the side here and on the side here that are about that same space. There you go. Now, let's do the same 1/4 round line, but let's do it within the ovoid on the inner edge. So we'll basically be connecting this guideline here to the bottom inside line with a 1/4 round turn and leaving about the same space. So about like that. Very nice. All right, let's go ahead and do that same thing that we did on this side on the other side. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. As I sketch it in, nice 1/4 round turn there at about the same width. So this is the same width all the way around on the bottom side of the ovoid. Now let's replicate the same line that we did at first with the top right of the ovoid. And let's go ahead and add that on the inside. So we'll start here at our mark, nice and steep at first, and then slowly sloping towards the middle of our ovoid. There we go. Now that we have that one there, let's go ahead and add that same line on the other side, connecting all the lines together now. Just like that. There it is. Now we have an ovoid. You can go ahead and take your eraser if you'd like and erase the outer box, which is just the corners left now, the outer corners of your drawing space. So the original rectangle is going to disappear now, and it's going to leave us with just the ovoid. There it is. You drew the first basic shape of Formline. So after that, let's move into drawing U-shapes. So here we go. On my face and drawing U-shapes. So drawing U-shapes are the second most used shape in Formline art. And they're most often used connected to an ovoid to create a Formline design. So let's start by using a quarter of our drawing space here. And we're going to draw a rectangle to create our U-shape inside of this quarter of our drawing space. Now let's draw a rectangle that is on its edge. So let's make a rectangle that is taller than it is long. I'm going to go ahead and draw that for you after I write this U shape. Let's use a capital U. A U shape. So start by drawing your rectangle with long sides. Nice. We'll make it taller than it is long. Let's go like that right there. We'll add the bottom. Again, I'm just sketching this in. If you want to use a ruler or straight edge, that is fine. Make it nice and tall, just like that. So now we have a rectangle that is taller than it is long. Once you have that drawn, let's go ahead and go right back there and erase that top line. And that leaves us with the two longer sides and the bottom. Now, first part about drawing this U shape is we're going to do a quarter round turn on the bottom left-hand corner. So if you divide the sides into quarters, you'll be starting about a quarter of the way up from the bottom left corner there and drawing, again, that quarter round shape to connect the side with the bottom line of the rectangle. Once you have that drawn in, let's go ahead and draw it in on the other side as well. Again, at about a quarter of the way distance up the right-hand corner, let's draw that quarter round shape. You can just sketch it right in there. There we go. You're doing great. Now we have the outside edge of our U shape. Let's go ahead and draw the inside edge of our U shape now. And so starting up from the bottom, we're going to do a similar space as we did with our ovoid, how the ovoid was thicker at the top than it is at the bottom. Let's go ahead and make this nice and thick. And so using that distance about from the bottom to the bottom inner edge of your ovoid, we're going to draw a line about using about half of the space. So leaving about a quarter on each side. So you want to leave the quarter space there and just draw a line that is parallel with the bottom of your U shape. There it is. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to add quarter round lines, but we're going to continue them all the way to the peak of this line. And they're going to come together at a point, just like that. So we'll go quarter round line here from the left-hand side of that parallel line to the bottom. And then we're going to continue this line all the way up to the very top to a peak and down. Great. Once you have that side drawn, let's go ahead and do that same thing on the other side of our U shape. So again, we have here a quarter round line. And we'll continue it all the way up to the peak of our U shape. There it is. Now we have drawn a wonderful U shape. We can go back through here with our erasers and just erase those bottom corners. Just erase the bottom corners, and that'll leave just the U shape there for us to see. Fill that back in with the line that I want. There we go. Great. You're doing great. That's our U shape. So we're going to move on to drawing S shapes. So the S shapes are the third most used shape in Formline art and are most often connected to ovoids and U shapes to create a Formline design. We can use S shapes in the main design or as fill-in. So S shapes can be used with other main design shapes to create the forms of arms or legs, or even fins. When used as fill-in or details of Formline, S shapes can depict fingers and toes, claws, tongues, and even ribs. So let's start by drawing a rectangle that is on its side. So a rectangle, again, that is taller than it is wide. And let's draw that in a quarter of our drawing space. Start by capital S, shape. So with this part here, you can feel free to use a ruler if you'd like. I could use the edge of my pencil as a guide. So there's a straight line, and we'll go ahead and make this nice and tall. And we'll connect the top and the sides and the bottom and the sides. There you go. We have a nice rectangle to draw our S shape in. So we're going to start by drawing parallel lines that start at about 1/4 of the way up on the inside of our rectangle and go to about 3/4 of the way up. So if you want to know about parallel lines are just lines that are side by side. And so these lines are parallel. We're going to be doing the same thing on the inside of our rectangle. And we'll be having about 1/3 of the space in between them. So starting about 1/4 of the way up, start drawing our first parallel line all the way to about 3/4 of the way up. Let's go ahead and do that again on the other side. And we'll draw a line that is parallel to the first. That is the same length. 1/4 of the way to about 3/4 of the way up. Now, once that you have these parallel lines together, let's turn them into an S shape. So starting at the top of the left parallel line, let's do another one of these quarter round turns, but let's aim it towards this upper right corner. And we're going to draw it all the way to that upper right corner. So we'll start with drawing an arch. So a quarter round turn. And then let's just go ahead and continue it all the way to that corner point right there. Great. With the top of the other line, let's go ahead and do the same thing, but with a smaller turn right now. So we'll do a smaller turn and we'll go ahead and continue this line all the way up into the corner as well. Just like that. Awesome. You're doing great. So the next part about this, so you were looking for an S shape, and we're going to want this, the bottom, to be just like the top, but pointed in the other direction. So we'll go ahead and start on the bottom right of the parallel lines. And let's go ahead and make a quarter round turn. And draw the line. There's a quarter round, and then have it head steeply over towards that corner. There we go. It's just like that first line that we drew on the top. Let's go ahead and do the same with the bottom of the left line. And less of a turn there, and then continue it all the way to the corner. There it is. That's the S shape. And as you see, it does look like an S, just like that. Now at home, you can just go ahead and take your eraser if you'd like, and you can erase that outer edge of your rectangle to leave just your S shape, just like that. Wonderful. And there we have it. So today in this lesson, we have learned about drawing ovoids and how they are thicker at the top than they are at the bottom. We have drawn a U shape, and we have also drawn an S shape. We found out that the U shape comes together at points at the sides, and the S shape comes together at points in either direction. Now you can practice drawing these basic shapes on your own at home, and you can change them up a little bit, a little variation of your own. You can make the rectangles taller or shorter or wider, thicker. Go ahead and practice these shapes on your own. So thank you so much for joining me today. Gunash Chish Tlin, which means thank you very much in Tlingit. We'll go ahead and say that again. Gunash Chish Tlin. Thank you very much.